Are you feeling frustrated by your lack of sales? Or maybe you go out to recruit a salesperson and you spend all the time and money in training them only to find out they can't actually sell. What is happening? First of all, you're not alone. In fact, that is a common thing that we are seeing every single day in businesses in Canada, the United States, and in certain regions of Mexico. And there's a chance that you right now are watching this video because it was forwarded to you by one of your senior executives who attended my Scale Your Salesforce workshop. My name is Kaylin Ellsbury, and I am the founder of Leadership Sales Training. It's a unique organization designed to specifically help companies with what we call the 3 Ps of selling, and that's people, process, and persuasion techniques. You see, many times, especially in such complicated environments that we're seeing now, we start wanting to grow our sales team with the right people. But far often, we don't understand our own sales processes enough to know if we even have the right people. And if we do have the right people and we have the right process, well, sometimes they're just not that great at persuading others. And at the end of the day, that's really what it's about, is bringing people together under a process to help them with persuasion techniques so they can grow their sales force. What they probably learned in the workshop was not only more details about the 3 Ps of selling, but what I'm seeing every single day in the state of sales in North America. You see, typically, an owner founded a company because at their last role, they were very successful. Not only were they an expert in their craft, but they were also able to drive revenue. And after years of driving revenue, there's a chance that in their last organization, they looked around and said, I'm one of the top salespeople. I understand this business. Why don't I just start my own? And they did. And then they started thinking, I need salespeople, I need sales managers. And so they hired a bunch of salespeople and they looked around their sales team, and there was usually 1 or 2 people who just crushed quotas. And they looked at that top producer and they said, you know what? You should probably be sales manager. So they promoted them. Well, here's the interesting thing. The top producing salesperson is never the top producing sales manager. It's 2 totally different personality traits. And so as they lost their top producer and they put that person in a sales management role, they then looked around and told the sales manager, well, now we've lost all that revenue, so why don't you also sell? Well, the sales manager can't just sell and manage a team. So the owner, not knowing what to do, went back into his sales organization and started selling again. The majority of businesses would improve if there were owners and managers who stopped selling and actually did what they're supposed to do in that role, which is encourage their people to learn persuasion techniques and to sell more effectively themselves. And that's where I come in. So in the workshop today, we broke down those 3 Ps of selling and also explained how we got here in North America anyways. Did you know that North America, sales is the 2nd most hated profession? 2nd. Any guesses what the first was? Politicians. Not only that, but 87% of salespeople right now are fired for 2 primary reasons: temperament and lack of coachability. You see, if you can't coach your salespeople and they lack the temperament to be able to take effective feedback, you're starting over at ground zero. And it's estimated that hiring another salesperson not only could take up to 54 days, but the costs associated come out to 3.5 times their annual salary anyways. So if you've got great people, you just have to nurture them. So when it comes down to what it was that was specifically explained in the workshop, we started with those 3 Ps. We started with people. You see, you can't judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. Don't take my word for it, that was Einstein. But that's what we do in organizations. We look at a resume and we say, this person's got to be good at sales, so let's go ahead and hire them. But we don't understand that we're trying to put a farmer into a hunter role or a territory exec into an outbound guy. It doesn't work like that. Sales is fundamentally changed. And what's even more is we're seeing a complex hybrid of positions where it's sometimes not even a salesperson, it might even be a consultant who's tasked with the important job of talking to clients that exist and upselling, cross-selling, or getting referrals. So you have to understand with your people what role you're putting them into based on their natural sales methodologies. And I gave a little quiz to help them with that. The second piece we uncovered is process. Did you know that sales teams who have a process are 2.5 times more likely to exceed their quota? According to the Harvard Business Review, 48% of all underperforming companies struggle because they don't have a sales process. You see, sometimes I go into these organizations and I ask, hey, show me your sales playbooks. And a lot of owners say, yep, we have a sales playbook. And I say, okay, tell me about it. And they go, I don't actually know. It's somewhere on a file. If you have a playbook and you're not using it, let me ask, do you really even have a playbook? And it's the same with scripting. The best salespeople don't just wing it. No, they've taught themselves what it was that needed to be said in every part of the customer buying journey. And then they rehearsed it, and then it came out effortlessly and flawlessly. And you think about it kind of like athletes. Athletes don't just practice on game day. No, they run the drills multiple times in advance until it's from muscle memory, and then it just happens. So a lot of sales reps today, they're not running drills. And then when they get a price objection, a market timing objection, or I need to talk to my team objection, they don't quite know what to say. And because they're embarrassed that they weren't able to create that dialogue, they just put it in the CRM as didn't buy. And then they get ghosted and they don't know how to explain what's happening. Process eradicates these issues. And then the last P that we talked about was persuasion techniques. Did you know psychologically there are certain strings of words anyone can say that allow for an increased closing percentage and a deeper level of rapport? For instance, if you're like most people, that's actually one of the psychological drivers. You see, you can use that statement anytime you need to call out the behavior of the other person that you're speaking with. So if you're in a situation like a sales situation and it's feeling tense for some reason, you can't quite articulate why it's intense, you can use this to just simply take a breath, pause, and say, Mr. Buyer, if you're like most people, you're sitting on this sales call wondering if we will even be of value to you. And you've probably made some silly decisions in your past. I know I have. So allow me to just simply walk through what it is that we do here if in the event you decide that it makes sense for another call. See how that works? So the last half of that workshop was all spent on things like psychological drivers and objection handling. So I hope this brings you up to speed in what it was they learned. You will receive a few links at the bottom of this video. One, to schedule your free personality exam to make sure that you're not a hunter in a farmer role or vice versa. The second thing you'll learn is an opportunity to book a strategy call with myself, where I will ask you a series of questions to break down, do you have a people problem, a process problem, or a persuasion problem? Or maybe you have a combination of all three. And in that call, as we break that down, I will give you some very tactical, strategic resources to help get you out of that rut. I hope you found this video somewhat enjoyable and that you were able to learn a little bit more about what we're seeing in businesses in North America today, as well as some tactical information on solving your people, your process, or your persuasion problems.